a top ex-CIA officer breaks her silence, accusing Tulsi Gabbard and the White House of pushing a false narrative about Russia's 2016 election interference. She says the intel was clear. Moscow aimed to help Trump win. No collusion, but no conspiracy either. Now intel veterans are pushing back. The Justice Department launches a strike force. And the war over 2016 reignites. A former senior CIA officer involved in the 2017 intelligence assessment on Russia's interference in the 2016 election says that Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard and the White House are lying in their claims that there was an effort to sabotage President Donald Trump. According to a report by NBC News, Susan Miller, a retired CIA officer who helped lead the team that produced the report about Russia's actions during the 2016 campaign, said it was based on credible information that showed Moscow sought to help Trump win the election, but that there was no sign of a conspiracy between the Kremlin and the Trump campaign.
The Director of National Intelligence and the White House are lying again. We definitely had the intel to show with high probability that the specific goal of the Russians was to get Trump elected. At the same time, we found no two-way collusion between Trump or his team with the Russians at that time. It is clear that Trump and his followers have a script they want to follow, despite the facts.
She said that when her team briefed Trump and others about their assessment in 2017, they made clear there was no way to gauge the impact of the Russian information warfare on the vote, and that Trump was the country's lawful commander-in-chief.
Both my team and I and DCIA, the director of the CIA, said clearly in our report to Trump himself and to the intel committees in Congress that Trump was our president. Trump thanked the CIA director for the briefing. That part was left out by Gabbard.
However, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence dismissed Miller's comments.
Susan is wrong, and the American people can read for themselves hundreds of reasons why she is wrong in the declassified HPSCI report.
When asked about Miller's defense of the intelligence assessment, White House spokesperson Davis Ingle said that the culprits would be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Meanwhile, the CIA has not yet commented on the development. Patrick Rodenbush, a spokesman for former President Barack Obama, said in a statement this week that the claims are outrageous and a weak attempt at distraction. Earlier, US National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard accused former President Barack Obama of conspiring to undermine Trump's 2016 presidential victory by using false intelligence purporting to show Russian interference in Trump's favor. On July 23rd, Gabbard told a White House news briefing that she had declassified evidence of a conspiracy between Obama and senior officials in his administration. Gabbard said she had referred Obama to the Department of Justice for potential criminal prosecution.
At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified oversight majority staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice.
However, declassified documents released by Gabbard on July 23rd, including a September 2020 report led by House Republicans on the Intelligence Committee, do not appear to implicate Obama in any apparent way, experts say. There is no evidence of criminal acts on Obama's part or anyone in his administration. Barbara Ann Perry, who analyses US presidents at the Virginia-based Miller Center, told Al Jazeera. Several investigations by Congress and the intelligence community have previously found that Russia did interfere in the 2016 election. The document release and investigation come as the White House faces growing pressure from within Trump's MAGA base to release classified information about the high-profile sex offender and one-time Trump ally, Jeffrey Epstein.
There's a direct correlation between diversion from the Epstein files, which Trump and his MAGA followers have demanded to see for years.
Overall, experts say Gabbard's claims are unlikely to get far. Heather Hurlburt, Associate Fellow on the Americas program at London-based think tank Chatham House, said,
A 2020 Senate investigation, when Republicans controlled the Senate, corroborated the intelligence agency's findings about tactics Russia used to try to sway the 2016 presidential election. Gabbard's latest accusations don't introduce any new information. Without any new, independently corroborated facts, these allegations don't seem like a good faith effort to consider the merits of the original investigation.
Gabbard has declassified a 44-page report prepared by the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee in September 2020 that she claims proves that Obama and senior officials in his administration engineered a treasonous conspiracy to suggest that Russia had influenced the 2016 presidential election in favor of Trump. The report, which was led by House Republicans, reviewed how US intelligence had concluded that Moscow interfered in the elections in a January 2017 intelligence community assessment that was published 2 months after the elections.
There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence Report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory.
Gabbard said at the briefing, adding that the idea that Russia interfered in the election to promote Trump was a contrived narrative. Obama's administration manufactured findings from shoddy sources. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016, she said. Gabbard added that she had referred the former president to the Justice Department for a possible criminal prosecution. Gabbard said in a statement that the Obama administration went ahead with investigating Russian interference after Trump won the 2016 elections, despite that initial conclusion and despite intelligence agencies like the CIA stating in advance of the vote that Russia could not affect the vote count. Earlier on July 22nd, President Trump, accused Obama and top officials of his administration of treason. "It's time to go after people," he said. Analysts say the report that Gabbard released on Wednesday, as well as the documents declassified last week, do not appear to provide evidence that Russia did not interfere in the elections to favour Trump, or that Obama ordered the investigation to reach a predetermined conclusion. In addition, the documents Gabbard released from Obama officials do not appear to contradict the established conclusions of Russian interference, analysts say. Obama officials did not allege that vote counts had been manipulated, but rather that Russian hackers had launched covert digital operations aimed at sowing discord in the US during the vote, including by leaking emails of top Democrats, such as Clinton, and trying to influence opinion on social media using bots. On July 23rd, the Justice Department, under Attorney General Pam Bondi, announced the creation of a strike force that will assess Gabbard's claims and consider potential next legal steps. In a statement, Bondi said the Justice Department would investigate these troubling disclosures fully and leave no stone unturned to deliver justice. However, Obama, as a former US president, enjoys civil and criminal immunity for actions undertaken during his time as president, which are regarded as official. This could represent a stumbling block for any prosecutions, analysts say. Indeed, in a landmark decision siding with Trump in July 2024, the Supreme Court confirmed that presidents have absolute immunity when they carry out official acts. Trump, at the time, was being prosecuted for actions during his first presidency, which prosecutors said amounted to an attempt to influence the 2020 election results. Perry of the Miller Center said Obama's order for an investigation constituted an official act. The Justice Department could attempt to argue that investigating Moscow's interference in the US elections was not a core presidential duty, but that would likely be a weak assertion, she said.